And this is the project we're going to do today. This is made using some files that were purchased from the Dreaming Tree website. This project is cardstock. It's the vase is cardstock as well as all the flowers except for the baby's breath. And so we have a rose, we have a marigold, and we have a posy. And so let's begin. Okay, we'll start by making the vase. So this is the base piece for the vase, and then accent pieces and the panels that will go on the base. So we're going to start by folding at each of the score lines. And once I have folded it down, I'm burnishing it down with my Teflon bone folder. Okay, now I'm going to glue the panels on. So these big ones are going to go here, the little ones are going to go down below, and the glitter is going to go in the middle there. And so I'm going to glue these on just so that I have an equal border around the outside. Okay, now that I have the panels on, I'm going to put some glue on this tab right here, and I'm going to make sure the glue comes all the way out to the edge, and then I'm going to combine these two together just like this. Okay, and now I'm going to start combining them together. So I will start by putting some glue onto this tab. I'm going to make sure that the glue is all the way out to the edge. And then I will line this up. Then I'll do the same thing with this bottom tab. And now I'll just repeat this for the rest of the tabs. Okay, and so now we're ready to combine both halves together. So I'm going to start by doing the small tab and then this smaller tab on the top. And I'll just use a wooden dowel to help push this small one in. Do this one last. Okay, and now all we've got left is to close up the bottom. So we'll take the big flap, and then I'm going to put glue on all 5 of these smaller tabs. And I'll lift the tabs up a little bit to give them a little more surface area, and I'll concentrate on the opposite side of the big flap here, and I will line it up first, and then I'll just kind of maneuver the other sides into place so that we have a nice clean bottom here, like that. And that completes our vase. Okay, we're going to now add a little bit of ink to some of these components. And so I'm going to start with the flowers from the Spring Posies set, and I'm going to use some Distress Ink Shaded Lilac. And I have just one of my sponge applicators, and I am just going to lightly sponge over the top. And I'm going to turn it over and also ink on the other side. Okay, and for this stamen I'm going to use some Shabby Shutters. And then I'm just going to ink onto the very top here. Okay, and I will use this same ink to ink up this part of the stamen. And I will also ink the other side. Okay, and now I'll use the same ink. This is the part that goes underneath the flower. I don't know what it's called. And I'll also ink the back of these leaves. And I'll do the same to these two leaves, the large leaf and the small leaf. And the petals with the texture side up, I am going to fold along the score lines. Okay, now I'm going to take a wooden dowel. This is about 1/4 inch. And I'm just going to start to train these petals backwards. And now that I've loosened the fibers a bit, I'm going to actually roll it like this onto my dowel. Okay, and once again, this is the texture side up. This is the smooth side. Now on this little tab right here, we are going to actually glue that on the back. So I'll put some glue on this tab, and then we'll glue it on the back like this. Now for this little part, there's also some score lines on this, so we're going to fold them at the score lines. Once again, this is the textured sides up, and I am going to start to train these going down. Okay, and now I'm going to roll it again on the dowel. Okay, this is the textured side up again, and once again we are going to fold it up, and this time we are going to glue it so that the tab is on the inside. So I'm going to put some glue on the back of this little tab, and then I'm just going to glue this bottom piece together. Okay, we're going to start with this little stamen here, and so I'm going to relax this a bit just by putting my dowel like that, just to get it to start to curve. And I have a 16 gauge floral wire here. This is about 8 inches in length. And so what I'm going to do now is I am going to put a line of glue along this, and I'm going to put my floral wire just like this. And then I'm going to start twisting this onto the wire. Okay, now I'm going to take my hot glue gun and make sure it's hot. And I'm going to put a dollop of glue right in the hole, like that. And then I'm going to stick my stick in there about this far in, like that. So I will just stick that into there. All right, and then once that is set, you can either use a dowel to twist these back, but I like to use one of my quilling tools. So I'm just going to sit this in here and I'm going to roll this back like that. Okay, and then I'm going to just try and train them so that they're kind of equally splayed out like this. Okay, and next we'll work on this side of the stamen. And so I'm going to use either a little 1/8 inch dowel here and just kind of roll this back like this, or I'll just use my quilling tool and just roll this back. All right, and this is the textured side and this is the smooth side. And so we're going to start on the side that doesn't have the notch on it down here. And I'm just going to put a dab of hot glue on it. And then I'm going to put this on here so that it is even with the bottom of the first stamen. And then I will start turning it. And I will put a dab of glue. Okay, now that we've got that done, we're going to slide our petal on here. And so we're going to put a lot of hot glue along the bottom here. And then we're just going to slide this on until it bottoms out like that. Now we're going to slide this part on. So it's going to go on like this. And then you're going to line up each of the petals here with the bottom of the, or each of the leaves with the bottom of the petal. So I'm going to put some more hot glue. Okay, and so now we've got our two leaves here. And so I'm going to, this is the textured side, and so I'm going to just train them back a little bit, just like that. And this is the smaller leaf, and train it back just like that. And I am also going to train the stem of the leaf so that it is kind of curved around my stem. So I'll just come like this and curve it around like that. Now I'm going to take some floral tape. And I'll take this and then I'll stretch it out a little bit and I'll start wrapping it just below this top portion. And we'll take the bigger of the two leaves and we'll just put it on like that and continue to wrap around the leaf. Then we'll come down a little bit more and we'll put the smaller leaf offset from the original leaf, and we'll just wrap around. And that completes our posy, and so we'll just stick it into our vase like that, and we've got our first flower done. All right, next we're going to work on our marigold flower. And so to ink these petals up and also the stamen, I'm going to use some scattered straw. And we've got 5 petals from large to small, and we're just going to ink up the edges. This is the textured side again. And I'll turn it over and ink the other side. Okay, and then I will repeat this process for the rest of the petals. Okay, now for the stamen, I'm going to put a piece of scrap paper down, and I am going to just lightly go over it like this. And now I'll turn it over and do the same on the other side. Now to get the tips as dark as I can, I'm going to just put the ink directly on it, and I'll turn it over and do the same thing on the back. Okay, and then for these leaves, there are 2 of these leaves and one that goes underneath. I'm going to use some shabby cheddars and just ink both sides of this and both sides of each of the leaves. All right, now on these leaves here, I'm just going to put one of my 16 gauge wires here and just kind of pinch the ends of these leaves. And I'll zoom in here a little closer so that you can see what I'm doing. So I'm just putting this on here, and then I'm just pinching this around the corner like that. Okay, now for this part, there are some score lines here. And so this is the textured side up again, and we are going to fold along these score lines. And there's some score lines at the top here too, so we'll just fold these back, just like that. So once again, this is the textured side. And now what we're going to do is there's a tab here that doesn't have a leaf on the top of it. And so what we're going to do is glue this closed so that it's like this. Okay, now we're going to arrange our petals by size from small to large. We're going to take our 1/4 inch dowel and we're going to train the petals up. Okay, now I'm going to take my 1/8 inch dowel and I'm going to go from the side of each petal. Let me zoom in so you can see the side from each petal, and I'm just going to roll this forward just like that on either side. Okay, now I'm going to take some fun foam, and I have a big ball stylus here, and I'm just going to roll it along there to give this a curl. And once again, the textured side is facing up. Now I'm going to repeat what I just did with all the rest of the petals. And now with the stamen, I'm going to start with the non-textured side. And the side that does not have a notch in it, I am going to start rolling the stamen onto my wire. And I will put some glue every so often and just continue to roll it up. Okay, I'm going to hold this and give it a chance to dry. Okay, now I'm going to put some hot glue in the hole, just like that. And then I want to stick it in about this far. And so I will just stick that into the hot glue, and then I'm going to give this a chance to dry. Okay, after this is dried for a bit, I'm going to just kind of pull these out to kind of spread them out. Okay, now we've got our petals. This is the smallest to the largest. So we're going to start with the smallest one, and we're just going to put it on our stem like this. We're going to put a dollop of hot glue right at the base of the stamen, and we're going to slide this on until it's well seated. Okay, now we'll do the same with the second petal, but with the second petal, when we bring it down, we want to make sure that we offset it so that these petals are coming up between the previous petals. So you don't want them to be overlapped, you want them to be offset like this. And we'll just repeat this, doing the same thing for each of the petals, offsetting it from the last row. Okay, now this part that is underneath, it's going to just slide in like this, and it's going to be up tight against the bottom. Now what I like to do is put just a little bit of glue on the ends of these. Okay, now I'm going to use some florist tape. I'm going to stretch it to make it sticky. And I'm going to wrap just at the bottom of where this leafy part is. And so maybe 1/4 of an inch. Okay, now with these leaves, you notice there's a stem to the leaf and then the leaf begins. How you want to position this is right at the bottom of this leaf portion that you put on below the flower. You want the leaf to start right there. So, and then I'll use some floral tape to connect the leaf to the stem. And once I've got the first leaf connected, I will attach the second leaf to the other side. All right, now we're on our last flower. This is the rose. This is comprised of 2 large petals and 3 small. You've got this part that goes underneath the flower. I think it's called a calyx. You have 1 leaf, and we have the stamen. And we are going to ink these components up before we assemble our flower. Okay, for the stamen, I'm going to use scattered straw. And again, I'll do both sides. Okay, for the petals, I'm going to use some fired brick. And I will ink both sides of every petal. similar to how we did for the marigold. Okay, and for the leaves, I'm going to use some shabby shutters. And again, we'll ink both sides. All right, now we're ready to start to assemble our rose. So I've got my 14 gauge wire here. We'll start with the stamen, and I'm going to use my dowel here to kind of train it to turn. And I am going to put this onto the wire. This is the textured side, and this is the non-textured side. So I am going to put just a little dab of glue here. In fact, let me zoom in. I will zoom in, and I'm going to put a little dab of glue right here. And I will roll the stamen onto the wire, gluing as I go. Okay, and I'll just hold this until the glue sets. Then in the little hole, I'm going to put some hot glue in this little hole. And then I'm going to put this 14 gauge wire up into it about 1/4 of an inch, about that far. Okay, and I'm going to put my stem with the stamen aside, and I've got my 5 petals here. So I'm going to start with one of the smaller ones. Okay, and I'm going to take my 1/4 inch dowel, and I've got the texture side up again, and I'm going to just crease this around. Okay, now for the center petal, I'm just going to gently fold everything together and work it until I can get it as tight as I can. Okay, and then after I've held it for a little bit, I'm going to let it just go to naturally open on its own. And then I'll add some hot glue to hold the petals in that position so that it stays in its natural state. Okay, now we'll take our stem with the stamen on it, and we'll just gently flay out the stamen a little bit. Okay, and so this has separated out the stamen a bit, and this first petal we're just going to put on, and it's going to come straight up, and we'll pull the stamen through. So what we're going to do is we're going to put some hot glue. Okay, for our remaining petals, we've got 2 small ones and 2 large ones. I'm going to take my dowel, and I'm going to just bring all the petals up, just like this. Okay, now I'm going to take my 1/8 inch dowel, and one corner I'm going to just kind of curl up, and the next corner I'm going to curl down. Now this up and down you can randomize if you want to. I just like to go up, down, up, down. It's a little more simple for me. Then I'm going to use my Fun Foam and my large ball stylus, and this first petal I'm going to curl up quite a bit, and so this is going to be curled up quite a bit. Okay, and so we've got our next petal, which we're going to put on like this. We'll put our hot glue at the base of the previous petal. Okay, so now we've got the start of our rose, and now we're going to work on our 3rd petal. We're going to do the same thing that we did with our last one. We're going to first of all train it up, and with our 1/8 inch dowel we're going to go up Alternate between up and down along the edges. Okay, we're going to put this petal on, and we want to offset from the previous petal, so it's going to go on like that. And we are going to repeat this procedure for each of the remaining petals, making sure to offset from the last one. Okay, and now for the calyx. This is the textured side. So I'm going to take my 1/4 inch dowel, and I'm just going to train these petals downward like this. And I also used an 1/8 inch dowel. Okay, and then this is going to just slide underneath the rose like this. Okay, and the flower is complete except for the leaf. So I'm going to take some tape and start right up at the bottom. Okay, now this is the leaf, this is the textured side. And so I'm going to train this backwards, just like this. Then I'm going to take my 1/8 inch dowel, and I'm just going to randomly turn I'm looking on the stem about where I want it. Let's see, I'm going to back up my tape a little bit here, because I think I'm going to want it maybe about right here, like this. I'll use the floral tape to wrap the leaf onto the stem. And here's our finished rose, and we can add it to the vase. And you can bend the blossoms out a bit to help the placement within the vase. Now, to help stabilize our vase, we can put some of these stones that you can get at the floral department. Okay, and to finish this off, we can add a little bit of baby's breath and just stick that in there, and to kind of even it out and rearrange our flowers. And here's the final project, the final piece. You can see the rose, which is right up here in front, and then we have the marigold and the posy, along with the baby breath that we added. And so I hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!